We are back on Taking Care of Business on Kern Radio Newstalk 1180. Clay, you had a question for Bob?
Well, I think before we get too far into the initiative, that maybe Bob could give us a little bit of history about himself as well as his organization, especially since he's from Bakersfield.
Well, okay. I was born in Bakersfield back in way back when in 1948. So I also go back to the Goldwater days. I was a teenager back in those days, and I grew up in my younger days in the San Francisco Bay Area, but kept coming back to Bakersfield because my grandparents lived there. And I went to Pomona College and down here in Southern California, and to USC Law School. I spent a couple of years in the military, spent some time in Vietnam, and I clerked at the Supreme Court, as indicated earlier, and I've spent most of my career as a lawyer down here in Orange County, working for the law firm Gibson, Dunn & Crutcher, which is an international law firm. And I've been with the Lincoln Club of Orange County as one of my, community service activities for about 19 years, and I've been the president of the club for a couple of years, and this has been one of our focuses for a long time. We've been actively pursuing this issue of public sector unions and special interests generally for about the last 10 years, and I think this is now an issue whose time has come.
Sure. Bob, you graduated first in your class at SC, I noticed. Congratulations for that. That's quite an achievement. I didn't realize you were a Vietnam vet. What service were you in?
I was in the Army.
Oh, okay.
I was an ROTC in college, and went in the Army for a couple of years back in the period of 70 to 72.
Interesting. I did ROTC in Benning.
Oh, you did?
Infantry. Unfortunately, I was injured and never finished.
And I was just a ground pounder in the Marines, so.
Well, you guys did a lot more than I did.
Go ahead, Clay.
No, I was impressed with reading your initiative, and I guess that before we get into it, I'm going to make the comment that I don't know how you're going to get this passed, but I'd like to see you get into what the initiative talks about.
Sure. The initiative does four things. First of all, it prohibits corporations, unions, and government contractors from contributing to campaigns, political campaigns of candidates. Pretty much the same thing as the federal system does. So we just add to the same system the federal government has now, and we just make it to the state system. Second thing that it does is that it prohibits employers, including government employers, from taking money out of state. It prohibits them from taking it out of payroll checks, money for politics. This is the essence of what we did last year with respect to the public sector unions, which is one of the main ways that they get money for politics, but it is also one of the ways that some of the big corporations do it for their political action committees, and is something that was on the drawing boards for many of the corporations. So we've expanded it now to apply to corporations as well. And actually, I folded the third thing in to the first thing, which includes the government contractors. And then the fourth thing is that even after you remove the employer's payroll deductions, if the unions or the corporations come back and try to find a way to routinely get political funding through some other means, such as regular deductions from checking accounts or credit cards or something like that, that too has to be completely voluntary, meaning that the employees have to sign off on that in writing, and that has to be renewed annually. So those would be the four pieces of the initiative.
Okay. We're having a conversation with Bob Loewen, the president of the Lincoln Club, regarding the Campaign Reform Initiative.
Bob, I understand. We had a guest on a few weeks ago that talked about unions as well, and talked about the fact that if a union member was not interested or did not want to donate to a political position or a political candidate, they really didn't have to, and if they had any trouble from the union, that he would represent them. Do you know anything about that group?
Oh, it's Brad Dacus, Pacific Research Institute.
I don't know. I know about the Pacific Research Institute. I don't know about that particular initiative. I haven't studied it. Yeah. There's a lot of initiatives out there right now that are being floated by a lot of different groups, and I can't keep up with every single one of them. But that sounds like a worthwhile initiative as well.
Well, this really isn't an initiative. It's currently in effect, where he can represent a union member that does not want to give their dues to the union.
I see.
I think the catch there, it's got to be for religious reasons.
Yeah.
There are constitutional limitations on how much a union can do in terms of getting money from an employee, like a public employee, for example, so the problem always has been that if you're not a union member and you don't want to give money for politics, or you don't want to give money because of your religious conviction or something like that, the Constitution protects you, but the problem is, how do you vindicate your rights? And the unions can pretty much bully you into, giving your money anyway, and you need representation. So what you're saying is you have somebody that is willing to put up, legal counsel for that, and that's a worthwhile cause.
Now, you're not against unions. You're just against the way they take your money and what they use it for. Is that correct?
That's right. I mean, I think that unions can serve a good purpose. We're not Wisconsin. We're not going over the top here. We're not trying to eliminate union rights to collectively bargain. We're not trying to remove the rights of unions to collect dues from members or anything like that. All we're trying to do is to change the way that political funding takes place from special interests. We think special interests are completely dominating Sacramento right now, and we have to do something about that.
Now, how will your initiative, if it's presented, how will it be voted on? Or what's the process?
It would be voted if everything goes the way we would like it to go, it would be voted on in June of 2012.
By the public?
By the public. Yeah, it would be a ballot initiative that would go on the ballot at the next primary, and the next primary we think is going to be in June of 2012. Governor Brown is talking about an earlier primary. Probably we would not be eligible to be on that earlier primary if it were to take place, although the last I heard it's not going to happen. There was also some talk about having an earlier presidential primary, but the last I heard about that was going to be taken off of the agenda because of the cost, and so they were going to fold the presidential primary back into the traditional June primary.
As you know, Bob, it takes lots and lots of money to pass anything, and they're talking about a presidential election going over $1 billion possibly this in 2012. But how are you going to raise the funds, or where are you going to get the funds to promote your side of the argument? Because, as you know, the unions currently have a lot of money to promote their side.
Yeah, well, that's always been the problem. We've had two initiatives designed to attack this problem before. Once was in 1998, and there was the initiative was outspent like 10-1 by the unions. And in 2005, there was one of 5 propositions that was put up by Governor Schwarzenegger, and again, it was spent. There was more money raised, about $5 or $6 million was raised, and the unions spent something like 55 or 60 million. So again, there was about 10-1 outspending by the unions. This time around, I think that the things are different. We've been out there talking to people and asking around, and I think that people feel like this is an idea whose time has come, and I think that there are donors who are interested in making a difference. I think people are watching California circle in the drain, and this used to be the Golden State. This used to be the state that everybody looked to as with hope and a dream, and everything was changing. And now now you see business leaving California. You see this place not the hope, but rather the place where you feel like lost hope, and people understand the reason for that, and it really all began with the decision by Governor Brown, his first time in office, to create the public sector unions and to create this system of political funding for public sector unions helped by the state. And I think that and really the beginning of all this special interest money going into Sacramento, where the special interest began to dominate Sacramento, and I think that you have people who have the ability to fund this campaign, who recognize that and realize that this is the place that you can turn it around. This is the beginning
Sure.
of the turnaround in California, and so I do believe that we can get this funded.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about how we can get it funded when we get back. We're having a conversation with Bob Loewen on Taking Care of Business on Kern Radio Newstalk 1180.